So Donegal 16 points, Derry 15 points in the end. What a victory, what a win for Donegal in the end. And they had to wait right until the last kick of the ball when Paddy McBrearty sent that over the bar. This is the match reaction, of course, so do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Donegal have read out 1 point winners over Derry in Ballybuffet. Oh my word, the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. Did we know it? We actually have a championship. We actually have competitive games. We've something to talk about other than championship structures, other than, things going on behind the scenes and this and that, and, possible matches coming further down the line. We actually finally had a competitive game, that was televised on TV that we could actually discuss. And we could actually break down. And not only did we have a competitive game, we had a quality game as well. Both sides trading blow for blow, both sides going at it, both sides leaving everything out on the line. And you know what? You have to feel a bit sorry for Derry there. Look, listen, I'm not, I've no family in Derry or anything like that. I've no close affiliation with Derry or anything like that. And neither with Donegal either. But there was a part of me that just wanted Derry to get over the line there, to cause a bit of a surprise, to cause a bit of a shock. And there was moments in that game where you really felt like Derry were going to get over the line. I mean, Donegal didn't take the lead. The first time Donegal took the lead in this game was in injury time when Paddy McBrearty hit that free, of course, on the right-hand side of the pitch. That was the first time Donegal took the lead. And then Derry obviously came down the other end. They got themselves a free. Shane McGuigan put it over the bar. And then Paddy McBrearty from 30, 40 metres? I mean, it's not even a chance. It's half a chance. And Chrissy McCaig marshalled Paddy McBrearty brilliantly throughout the entirety of the game. And McBrearty just has the balls and the tenacity to hit the ball from so far out when there's so much on the line, and it goes over the bar. And Donegal have effectively won the game from there. I mean, Derry did have a chance to work another score. I thought the referee probably played a bit too much. I thought he was very generous actually to Derry there. There was an opportunity in particular for Conor Glass. I thought he was going to pull the trigger, and I thought we were going to see something special from Conor Glass, because he's the one player from that angle that I thought, if he takes an opportunity there, he could put it over the bar, but he didn't take it, and eventually it got worked back out, and the referee blew his final whistle. But look, listen, fair play to Donegal. This game, when I was watching it, it was reminding me a lot of the Cavan game last year, where Donegal weren't at their best. They were kind of strolling around the pitch, weren't up to full speed. They weren't in their absolute best. And you were kind of wondering, do Donegal have what it takes here to turn it around? Like, there was one stage at the start of the second half when it was 4 points and Donegal were struggling. Paddy McBrearty wasn't in the game. They've obviously brought Michael Murphy off the bench, who clearly had a good game when he came off the bench, got 1 or 2 good blocks in, got a point as well. But obviously he's not up to full fitness. He's not up to full match sharpness. You can't be relying on him to come off the bench and win you the game. And Michael Langan was fantastic from Donegal, probably my man of the match in my opinion. But obviously, are you going to rely on him to, as your only kicker to get you over the line and to win you the game? And Paddy McBrearty, just right at the death, stepped up, and that's the sign of a top-class player that, he didn't let the fact that he wasn't having his best game because of how well Chrissy McCaig was doing. Chrissy McCaig was doing a phenomenal job on Paddy McBrearty. And to be fair to him, he stepped up when he needed. He stepped up right at the death. And he didn't let that get into his head. He didn't let the fact that maybe he wasn't having his best game compared to previous games get into his head, and to kick that point as well right at the death. I mean, that is absolutely, that's incredible stuff. It really, really is. Quaylen McGonigal, I thought, had a good game for Donegal as well at different points, just breaking up the play, slowing it down. And fair play to Donegal, just to have that will within them. And you could see Declan Bonner at the final whistle celebrating, hugging some of his other management. Like, that was a man who probably had his job on the line in that game. If Donegal lost that game, I'm not too sure if he's there next year. And that's, Declan Bonner's done a great job in my opinion with Donegal. He's won 2 Ulster titles. He'll probably go on now maybe to win a third one, potentially, depending on how the Tyrone game goes. And there's still a lot obviously to do. But I think if they had lost this game, I'm not too sure if he would have been there next year, in my opinion. And I think he could see that on his face, like the emotion there at the final whistle. That was a huge win for Donegal. It really was, because last year in the Ulster Championship, they kind of breezed through Ulster really up until the final. They had a test against Tyrone, but I think against Tyrone, they always step it up, and they always kind of have that within themselves to step it up when it absolutely matters. But against, down the years when we've seen them maybe in these kind of tight battles in Ulster, Derry, obviously, in this game, Cavan last year, they haven't always stepped up when they've needed to. And they did today. They really did. Michael Langan, I thought, what a footballer, what a player. I mean, there was times when he was kicking points and he wasn't even running with the ball. He was staying still. Like, I mean, that's extraordinary stuff. It really is. GA lad there says, fair play to the ref, giving Derry one last chance to get a score. Yeah, I think maybe the ref was a bit of a fan and he wanted to get another 20 minutes or whatever of that game. I think he was a bit generous to Derry. I think he was like he was allowed, or Derry were allowed to have that extra 30 seconds or whatever. But I think playing it up until 5 minutes, I think if Conor Glass had pulled the trigger with that opportunity and put it over the bar, I think Donegal fans could have been rightly a bit annoyed with the fact that it went to extra time. But yeah, I think with Derry, it was just one of them situations, like especially when they were working the ball around there. This Derry team haven't been in too many big game moments over the past couple of years, big moments like that. Like, with all due respect to Division 3, Division 4, that's not big games. That's not games where define your season, where it's on television, where everyone's going to be discussing it, everyone's going to be talking about it. And I just think in that final moment, there was no one there for Derry to really step up and pull the trigger. Unlike what we've seen with Donegal with Paddy McBrearty, Conor McManus with Monaghan when he was going up against Galway, for example. They just didn't have that maybe experience within them. But I do think they'll learn from it. It's still a relatively young team in there. They were in Division 4 only a couple of years ago. They've obviously gone up to Division 2. They probably on another day could have won this game. There was a massive chance actually at one stage when it was Benny Heron who actually hit the bar, and it was a wonderful work, in fact, by Cassidy on the left-hand side, and played it into Heron, hit the crossbar, bounced back down off the line. And on another day, it would have, if that goes in, it could have been a completely different game. Shane McGuigan had one chance as well where he actually put it wide, and I think that was a bit of inexperience. Derry should have just took the point there rather than going for a goal, and that is just a bit of inexperience, a little bit from Derry. There's a fly flying around in my face here, but yeah, fair play to Donegal for turning it around. Like, fair play to them, especially going into the closing minutes. GA lad there just says, I thought Derry should have just tried to get a point in the last 30 seconds. Yeah, I think that's what they were trying to do, but they were just trying to wait for the right moment, and it just didn't come for them. They just couldn't pull the trigger. And again, there's just like big game moments, having those players that can do it in those big game moments. I mean, if Shane McGuigan had got on the ball, maybe he was probably the one that you would have felt could have put it over the bar. Richard Lynch says, happy to see a good competitive game. Yeah, and look, listen, there have been competitive games in the championship this year. They just haven't been on TV. The likes of Offaly Loud was a very competitive game. You obviously had Wicklow Wexford was a fairly competitive game. Even Dublin Wexford to a certain extent was a competitive game. They just haven't all been on TV. Instead we're showing Mayo drilling Leitrim by 24 points. We're not showing the good competitive games, which is something that, in my opinion, all these TV companies like RTE and Sky can give out about there being one-sided games. But I think at the same time, let's show the games that are competitive. But fair play to both teams for giving us a cracking game. Brilliant exhibition of scores for Derry. Shane McGuigan again, brilliant. Conor Glass at different times was brilliant as well. Emmett Bradley stepped up when he needed to. Kieran McFall, I thought, was brilliant for Derry as well. Hit a couple of points, hit one right at the death as well. And so did Benny Heron, to be fair to him. Chrissy McKaig probably would have been man of the match if Derry had got over the line, and it's such fine margins. Like, there's such a thin line between success and failure, and in particular in this year's championship, if Paddy McBrearty hits that wide and maybe Derry go down the other end and get the winner, you're talking about Chrissy McKaig gets all the plaudits. He's man of the match. He kept Paddy McBrearty down to 2 scores. But in the end, Paddy McBrearty with just an absolute wonder score. Nothing now of Chrissy McKaig's doing, nothing he could do wrong there. He put it over the bar, and it's harsh on Derry. It's the nature of the 2021 championship. I think we've spoke about it a number of times before, the fact that there's no qualifiers. Where would we rank Derry in terms of the top 10 in the country, top 10 teams in the country? Would they get in the top 10? Would they just be outside? We'll never know the answer to that question. If there was qualifiers, we would know the answer, because maybe they could go on a run and get to an All-Ireland quarter-final or something to that degree. Donegal could very well easily go on and win the Ulster Championship, and we won't know, unfortunately, where Derry are at now until 2022, which is a massive shame. But I think for Rory Gallagher and Derry, I think they've had a fantastic year. They've had a brilliant year. They've done very much all they could do, won every game in Division 3, and were very competitive in this game going into the final few minutes. On another day, they would have got over the line. It just wasn't meant to be. Do you think Tyrone could beat Donegal? Yeah, look, listen, it's going to be very close. It really is. And with Cathal McShane maybe coming back for Tyrone, if he's a little more fit maybe in that game, he could be a problem. You know, we could have a situation where both teams have their best players coming off the bench. You know, Tyrone could bring Cathal McShane off the bench. Donegal could be bringing Murphy off the bench. Right now, I think Donegal just have too much. McBrearty's in all-star form. You know, if Donegal come through Ulster, I really would expect McBrearty to win an all-star, in all honesty. Michael Langens just looks a much better player than last year. And I also think Murphy still has to come back into the team. You still have, you know, Oisin Gallen in there as well. Niall O'Donnell, obviously one man of the match on RTE there. He looks like a very talented footballer as well. So there's a lot of talented footballers coming through at the moment. Coming through Donegal. I just think they're just a bit ahead of Tyrone right now. I think they're more the seasoned team, in my opinion. Tyrone have kind of brought a few new lads into the team, the likes of Paul Donaghy and whatnot, have new management in there as well. We'll see what the situation is with Conor McKenna, if they can get him up to full speed, and that would be a massive opportunity for Tyrone to maybe, you know, turn it around and maybe get that victory. GA Zone there says, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and Donegal proved they were tough enough to get going. Yeah, they did, and I'm sure you're buzzing with that victory, anyways, because, you know, it reminded me a lot of the Cavan game. I'm going to be honest, like going into the final few minutes, it had Cavan written all over it. I thought, you know, Derry were going to just about pull it off, but fair play, McBrearty, Michael Langan, Kayla McGonigal, you know, they all stepped up when they needed to. Niall O'Donnell as well, and even Michael Murphy, to be fair to him as well. There's one stage, I think, with that McGuigan chance where Murphy got a block on, and he didn't get a block. The chance was going wide anyway. There was no block as such, but he just put him off, and I think that's what Michael Murphy gives you. He just gives you that extra bit of defensive cover as well as cover in almost every area of the pitch. So, yeah, fair play. This result will definitely stand to Donegal. It will, because, you know, if they're in that gutter again, a bit like last year against Cavan, they'll remember this moment. And they'll have that within themselves. I don't think they had that last year. You know, they were in the Cavan game and they were, you know, backs against the wall, all the pressure on them. They didn't know how to overcome it because they hadn't been there. Whereas this year they have, and they have overcome it. So I think it will definitely stand to them in an Ulster semi-final, and potentially an Ulster final as well. But yeah, look, listen, we'll wrap this up here anyway. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Fair play to Donegal. Huge victory for them. And yeah, you know, Donegal Tyrone once again in another Ulster semi-final, or another game, because we seem to have these two teams play each other all the time, and that will definitely be a very interesting game to keep an eye on. So yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in and left a comment, and I'll see you later.